When you think about the teams that have the best shot at making it out of the AFC right now, many people are talking about the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Jaguars, but Cincinnati is getting overlooked. And I get it. Cincinnati, they started out 0-2. Joe Burrow got out to a really nightmarish start due to that calf injury. But boy, the way Joe was playing against the San Francisco 49ers, I believe that the Cincinnati Bengals are back, people. And you got to remember that the Bengals are never one of those teams that starts the season out hot. Their last couple of seasons, they've gotten out the slow starts. This is around the time during the season that the Cincinnati Bengals start to hit their stride. They beat a really good San Francisco 49ers team, and they right now currently have a 3-game win streak. The Bengals are still legitimate contenders to make it out of the AFC. If Joe Burrow continues to play the way that he did against the 49ers for the rest of the season, the Bengals are going to be right back in the conversation to make it out of the AFC. Joe Burrow right now is the only quarterback active in the league that has a playoff win against Patrick Mahomes. He did this being able to beat Kansas City on the road in Arrowhead. Not too many people have been able to accomplish that feat. Joe Burrow in his second season took the Bengals to the Super Bowl despite having the worst offensive line to ever make it to the Super Bowl since what? Roger Staubach with the Cowboys? When they went to the Super Bowl behind the trash offensive line? Do not count out Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. When you're discussing teams that have a chance to win the AFC, the Bengals need to be in that discussion. They always have been a team that starts out slow out the gate. They're one of those teams that starts to separate themselves in the month of November. They still got arguably the best quarterback in this division. At least, it depends on who you ask. Some people will tell you Joe Burrow is better than Lamar. Some people will tell you that right now Lamar Jackson has played better than Joe Burrow. But it doesn't really matter because both of these two quarterbacks are top 5 quarterbacks in the league right now based on how they've performed. Cincinnati has a really good defensive coordinator in Lou Anarumo who's going to be a head coach somewhere next season. And their offensive coordinator, Brian Callahan, he was getting head coaching interviews. The recipe to the teams that have the most success in the playoffs isn't just about having the better overall roster. It's all about having a good coaching staff as well. Cincinnati, they're well coached on defense. They can get after you. This offensive line had their best performance all season against the 49ers. The Bengals have invested way too much money into the offensive line over the past 2 years for this offensive line to not be able to finally play at the level needed for Cincinnati to win it all. They signed Orlando Brown at left tackle. They paid him a really big salary in free agency. I believe that Orlando Brown really was the missing piece to solidify this offensive line. As long as Cincinnati can overcome significant big injuries on the O-line and they can keep everybody healthy, this is a team that can make a deep playoff run. That's the only thing that's held them back. We know that Joe Burrow is capable of being able to beat Mahomes on the road. He shouldn't be doubted. I'm not hearing too many people talk about Cincinnati in terms of them being able to make it out of the NFC. And I believe over the next couple of weeks when Cincinnati continues to win games and they eventually end up being in contention for the 1 seed along with the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Jags, people are going to start hopping back on the Joe Burrow and Cincinnati Bengals fan club. But remember, the Bengals were my preseason pick to win it all this season. I got them beating the Seattle Seahawks in the Super Bowl. And right now, Seattle looks better than the 49ers at this point. The Bengals are starting to come along. Now, I didn't expect for them to start 0-2. I didn't expect for Joe Burrow to look that bad to start the season. The Bengals just happen to be one of those teams that starts the season out slow and they get better as they progress every week throughout the season. The Bengals, I think they need to get talked about a little bit more in terms of teams that could make it out of the AFC. Now, are they up there with Kansas City and the Ravens? Can you make an argument for them being the best team in the NFL right now? No, you can't, but I think that's going to change over the next month. Around this time, at the end of November, I promise you that we're going to start having the conversation about Can the Ravens or the Bengals win the AFC? Watch, it's going to come. People just pay attention to the teams that are the hottest and have the best record. The Bengals don't have the best record right now. They're 4-3, but they're on a 3-game win streak, and not too many people are giving the Bengals the attention that they deserve, considering the fact that they have the only quarterback in the AFC that has proven to have the ability to lead his team to a win over Mahomes on the road in Arrowhead. It was called Burrowhead for a reason. I'm just saying, don't write off, don't overlook Cincinnati. They definitely are still in the conversation to make it out of the AFC this year, and I'm still riding with them to win. Somebody hit me up the other day in my DMs on Instagram. Make sure that you guys go ahead and follow me, JT Sports _. He said, JT, you predicted Cincinnati to win the Super Bowl. That's not looking so good right now. Who is your new Super Bowl pick to make it out of the AFC? I said, I'm still rolling with the Bengals. And this is coming from a Steelers fan. And I love Lamar Jackson. But Joe Burrow, one thing that he's always proven is that in big games, in the big moments in the playoffs, when the lights are the brightest, he's going to come through 9 times out of 10. I'm not writing off the Cincinnati Bengals, and I think that this team is still a top contender in the AFC conference.